It's fasting season. If you go to a big church, I'm pretty sure they're calling a fast. Even some of our smaller churches do it now. But it seems like every year at the very beginning, we do a fast. Are you willing to fast? Now on to the intro.
Currently rocking in the school of life. He is here talking about stuff and whatever's going on in his brain. You know it is 100% Bridget!
All right, here I am. It's me talking about something. How you guys doing today? I hope everything's going well. I hope your weeks have been good. I hope your new year is doing well so far and that you are sticking to your resolutions. Oh, that's funny. Well, anyway, if you're watching me on YouTube for the first time, feel free to like, subscribe, and ring the bell and do all that good stuff. And of course, we are over 3,000 plus downloads on our audio podcast. So make sure to follow me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and pretty much wherever you want to listen to a podcast, I'm there. So we got all that junk over with. And like I said in the intro, it's fasting season. You know, the beginning of the year, every church in the world, almost, not every church does it, but pretty much every church will call a fast, either a Daniel fast or some sort of fast. Hopefully nobody's not eating anything because you might make yourself sick unless you are really, really prepared for that and you really have a plan. Or you're Jesus, because he fasts for 40 days with water only. So, you know, oh, actually, I don't even think you drink water those 40 days. Well, anyway, actually, what I want to talk about is actually the surrendering portion of fasting. Because a lot of people they think a fast is to just stop something in their life. But every reference to a fast in the Bible pertains to the word food. Now, you're looking at me. If you're watching me on YouTube, you're going, man, you're a fat dude. You never fast. No, I fast right up until the next donut shows up. Just kidding. But I don't like to. I'm not a big fan of talking about fasting because it's an interesting concept to how things work. So if you take away a portion of something that you eat every day, let's say you eat lunch every single day, and you take away that lunch for the day, your body does something interesting. It decides that it's hungry. It just decides that it's hungry. And then you have to fight your body to not eat during that time frame. And so during that time frame, you're having a battle with your flesh. Now, I'm going to say that again. You're having a battle with your flesh. So that's when you stick the prayer in, because if you don't have prayer in the midst of your fasting, really all you're doing is dieting in a very bad way. So you have to have this understanding that a fast is not about, let's say, social media. I'm not gonna watch social media for the next 40 days. You know, well, whatever, because you know, you're taking something away. You're probably gonna feel better after not looking at junk for a long time. But the seriousness of it is that it becomes a connection between you and God. That's what fasting is for, so that you actually surrender yourself because of what your body is doing. You surrender yourself to God to get you through that situation. Now, I'm going to give you a definition of surrender: to agree to stop fighting, hiding, or resisting, to give the control or use of something to someone else. So when you actually fast, let's say you did the Daniel fast, and you're like me. I like cheeseburgers, and I like this kind of stuff, and I eat a lot of snacks. I'm not going to lie. It's very hard for me to switch over to eating nothing but vegetables, okay? And to have to surrender to that concept and go, okay, and during that time say, okay, I'm going to pray, I'm going to do the things required, and my body's going to feel better. Because if you look at the way the Daniel fast works, yeah, now, in all reality, all Daniel said was, you feed me vegetables. And I think it was for actually 7 or 10 days. And he said, you feed me vegetables and I'll be better than all you folks. And that's what happened. He turned up to be better than all them folks. And so he basically changed the way things work, but he had to surrender himself to eat just those things. So you have to surrender yourself. You have to agree to stop fighting. 1, you have to stop hiding. 2, and you have to stop resisting. So what happens is you go, okay, well, I'm going to eat this stuff. I'm going to do this thing, or I'm going to remove food altogether, or maybe I'm just going to not eat dinner, for the 7 days or whatever your fast is. And I make that decision to do that. I have to actually surrender myself. I have to stop fighting with God. I have to stop fighting with the world. I have to stop fighting with these things so that I can get through that properly, and I end up with a great connection with God. When it comes to God, we need to find ourselves in the state of surrender. In other words, we need to stop fighting with the things He wants us to do and stop resisting the call on our lives and stop hiding from Him and give Him control of our lives. And then we'll be amazed by the possibilities that come from surrendering to God. Now, I'll tell you, when Jesus fasted, when He went to the desert for 40 days, the devil didn't attack until He was hungry. The Bible actually specifically says that, and then He was hungry, and that's when the devil showed up. I got food for you. So He had to resist the devil. Come on, right? He had to work with God. He had to surrender Himself during those 40 days, to surrender Himself specifically to God so that He can resist the devil when the time came. When we actually surrender to God, we stop fighting the world for control. We stop hiding our Jesus from our friends and family. We stop resisting the urge to go into the next thing in life. It's interesting when you attach that and you have an understanding of what surrendering is, and that's part of that fasting situation. Surrender is an all in. It's like playing poker. You're going to put it all in and you're going to go for it. In its simplest form, surrender says, I will do what you say. I'm going to do what God says. I'm going to surrender to Him and do what He says. I'm going to do what you say, and I will do what you want me to do. And that is absolutely putting your all into something when you surrender. Here's Matthew. Watch this. This is what Matthew has. Now, I don't have any verses that actually talk about fasting, but I'm going to show you some things. When Jesus said to His disciple, this is Matthew 16, 24 through 25. When Jesus said to His disciples, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake, whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. So when you take an opportunity to be all in with Jesus, you actually find your actual life. And in the surrendering process of the fast, you're surrendering to God to take care of you through a time frame without certain foods or without any food or without your cheeseburger. Come on, right? And you take these things and you start to realize that when we take up that cross and we're denying what the world says about us and we're putting our lives in His hands, capital H, we're surrendering to Him with all that we have. We are in essence saying, I'm all in, God. I am going for it. And that's why churches will call a fast first thing of the year. January comes around and most people in church go, oh man, I don't want to fast. I know what's coming. The end of December, you just ate this great ham, turkey roast, or whatever it was that you ate for these meals over the last 3 months of the year. And you're like, now I got to go into this thing. And we really resist that fasting time when the Bible says we should fast and pray all the time. There's something about fasting and praying that makes things happen in our lives. And it's because we go all in with God during that time frame and for real, because if you're doing a fast for real, you're really going all in with God during that time frame because you have to. In order to make it through a fast, you have to really be connected with God. This is something that Paul says. This is Romans chapter 6, verse 13. And do not present yourself members as instruments of unrighteousness to sin, but present yourself to God as being alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness of God. Present yourself as righteousness to God. And how do we do that? How do we present ourselves as righteousness to God? We show Him, we bless Him in the process of fasting. We give Him a good word. We tell Him, I am doing this for you. And as we go through that process, we're surrendering to Him and we present ourselves as righteousness to God. And when one is surrendered to God, he is representing God, not the world. A person that is all in with God will represent Him. So when we go all in with God, are you representing Him in your life? Are you representing Him in your fast? An all-in person will do the word the whole word and nothing but the word. And we all make mistakes along the way. You know, that's the human side of us. We're gonna have problems. That's the other reason why we go into a fast, is when things seem to be falling apart and things seem to be having issues, or I'm really struggling with my walk with God. We hear this kind of terminology all the time. That's really when your fast becomes most important, because it's that reconnection, it's that rejuvenation of your body with Christ. But when we start to justify the mistakes and feeling that they become okay, that's when we need to retract, go headfirst in with God's stuff, and we start to realize that the thing that I was doing may have been a mistake, and God will help put us back on track. When we surrender to the King of Kings, you stop resisting his authority and realize you have it within you. It's fasting season, guys. Right on, right on.